full Kauai today, and we're going to talk a little bit about decision today. But I wanted to get this um, piece played about 4 minutes, so enjoy it because it's really, as you go over decision this week in the reading, this is really the decision that we're talking about.
All of that armor around me. Once you make the decisions that Joseph Campbell is talking about really hearing the call and being willing to take on the challenges of that new awakened life, once you do that, you begin to feel a power that it's like nothing else I've ever experienced. And I think a lot of us are just plain old afraid of that.
I tend to think that people wake up to the fact that they're the hero of their own life when they get tired of being the victim of their own life. At the point that that you say enough, I don't want to listen to my parents anymore. I've had it with my boss. I'm really having problems, perhaps, with the sermon I'm being taught. You can either surrender to victimhood, and a lot of people do, or you can surrender to a fundamentalism. You can basically give your responsibility to someone else and say, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Or you can say, I have a choice here and I'm responsible. Now, what does it mean to be the hero of your own life? It means to be responsible for your own adventure.
Campbell talks about metaphorical death, where something dies so that something can live. And in every hero's journey, there's some death moment where some old has to go and some new has to stay.
He quotes Nietzsche, and he says that the snake that cannot shed its skin must perish.
When death is a motif in a myth, it doesn't refer necessarily to what happens at the end of one's biological and physical existence. It's an indication that change is taking place.
I went through that process when I stopped being a tribal administrator and started becoming a writer. I put that aspect of myself play. It was valuable, and I learned a lot, and I draw on it, but it enabled me to go on.
No death, no life. No death, no transformation. No death, no change.
I said, okay, I don't want that anymore. I want this. Put that away. Made myself into something else. And this, in essence, resurrected into being a writer.
The whole key to blessing death is to recognizing that it's just a death of one old form that has played itself out and has no use anymore, which always, as the phoenix rises, and gives way to some new form that has new intrinsic meaning and makes your life even bigger and better.
You want a new birth, new revelation, new insight into life as you grow as a human being. You will learn to keep dying.
Okay, let me get my hardware plugged in here, and we should be good to go. There we go. Okay, you good, baby? Okay. So here we are. This is the halfway point, and of course, what we're talking about, a lot of metaphorical usages there of that passage. But basically, we're talking about the death of the old blueprint, and a lot of people are getting scared because they're starting to realize that they have power, and with that power comes that responsibility, and with that comes the choice to continue to be a victim of our old blueprint, which was formed by well-meaning parents, well-meaning school people, government, blah, 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 the whole bit, you know, that which formed what we talked about last week, the cement Buddha. And you start to chip away and find this wonderful, magnificent, stunning person. But it really gets down to, and that's why we've timed it this way, a decision. Are you gonna answer the call to action? One of the ways we deny the call to action is we simply don't do the work. I mean, the formula is right there. It works for everybody, and we've talked about it, and I'm still learning, you know, how to deal with this incredible power that's sitting between my ears, just like you are. I just want to tell you that that's the call. You're getting the call right now, and that doing is not enough. It just isn't enough. It's about being. Don't miss being while you're doing. Being what? Being part of your own adventure. So we can surrender and be a victim. We can go to the fundamentalism or some fundamental approach where we're just being told what to do and don't want to think about this stuff. And I know that all of you are on the cusp right now, so as you read decision, read it from a different level. You know, read it the way Hill has it spelled out, obviously, but read it from a deeper level. You know, referring back to, what do you want that dash to look like? I mean, do you want an adventure? Do you want an adventure? I was having a long conversation with someone yesterday, and it was really interesting. They're not in this course. There's someone that I know that doesn't even know that they're stuck, and is more than willing to take the adventure and considers themselves open-minded and in touch with all good and everything else like that. And they don't want to do anything unless they know what the outcome is going to be before they do it. That's no adventure. It's not all going to turn out. There's going to be bumps and bruises, but it doesn't matter. It's the snake shedding its old skin. It's you shedding the old blueprint. Okay? You don't know how it's going to work out. As Hanel says, many of us are, you know, not experienced operators with this mechanism, which the first guy that was talking in this film talked about, that power scares us. And sometimes it's easier to retreat, you know that. So think about that with decision this week. That's the decision to live the adventure, your adventure, that you're designing as you're going along. And I'm telling you, it's a hell of a ride. I want to encourage you to do it. So in the last Go 90 Grow session, we were really fortunate. We have a couple of iconic figures in this session too. But in the last one was Ann Feinstein, who has an organization, very good friend of mine now, didn't know her before, knew of her. Let's just say, Ann doesn't really like to talk about the size of her group, but if you're familiar with Springfield, Mass, you can look it up. It's about the size of Springfield, Mass. You know, it's tens and tens of thousands of people. And she came up with this: we are in the business of giving hope, helping other people evolve. We have to help ourselves evolve first. And, you know, her and I have talked about that a lot, but this is what she writes: by extending our hand to making a difference in other people's lives, to ask them about what they really want more of, what they want less of, and there it is, the call to action, and to actively listen to them pour out their hearts, then show them how we can help them to achieve that by supporting them and their decision, there's that word again, every single step of the way. See, you have the skills, and you're learning the mindset, okay? Again, not some bumper sticker stuff, but how to creatively construct a blueprint for a life that you want. And that's what bridges the gap that I talk about in Frame Firelighters. The gap between what? The life or existence somebody has versus the one that they really want. you know, way past getting the credit card bills paid off, this life of adventure, or this life of being a, you know, big time speaker, or this life of making a difference in people's lives and living anonymously, or making a difference in people's lives and being the point person. It doesn't really matter. It just matters what that person's needs are. This may be the very first time that they actually believe there is real hope that they can bridge the gap. And right there is the cornerstone of the blessings that Davine and I have had, because when we talk to somebody, we know how to get them over that gap. Mind and skills. That's what it is, the mindset and the skills. You know, not a why do you want to do the business, okay? So here's our agenda. We're morphing from imagination into the decision and talking about putting that link in between imagination and decision, which of course is organized planning. And there's your buddy again, or you, if you will. It's in your hands. Your faith is in your hands. Nothing compares to decision, because we are, you are, I am, okay? It's just the way it is. Agnes is, you know, Carolyn McKinley is, Casey Cleveland is, Kurt is, Dan is, Dean Robertson is, Debbie Waldron is what? The same thing Derek, my friend the chiropractor, is, and his beautiful wife Jen, and Ferdinand is. What is? We are the decisions that we make. So we're going to go over this. What's today, honey? The 11th? Okay, all right. It's a discussion, so we're going to discuss it. So I talked in the email that by the end of this call, but it's going to actually happen right now, how you can sponsor a top earner this instant. Okay, and this is the value of a mastermind. This is what's really fabulous about a mastermind, is that this actually came from a previous member, which is really cool. She said, Mark, at this point, I feel I may be coming to link together, and that's what I talk about all the time, binding. You should start thinking not about these as 13 steps, but binding them together, having to link together the pieces, and I understand. I'd like to make sure. It looks like while I'm in the process of writing down my DMP filled with details, figures, dates, feelings, vision, and belief, that I am purely in the act of recruiting myself with the proper mindset for this big job. Wow, there's your top recruiter. You must recruit yourself. Until you recruit yourself, and who is that self? That one that you've made a decision to be this new blueprint. Okay, this new adventure. You've got to recruit yourself, okay? And once done, she continues, inviting prospects would consist of communicating a flavor of this promising state of mind to spark their curiosity and own desire, if at all possible, before suggesting A, B, and C, okay? I am correct. Am I correct, or am I simplifying? Thanks in advance for your answer. Well, of course she's correct. And I know there's not a person here that's looking at this that doesn't know that that is correct until you recruit yourself. Most of us are in this business. We say we believe it's going to be a big business, but we're really waiting for some people to come into the business before we believe we're an earner, before we believe we're creating an adventure, before we believe that we can help other people. You got the tools. You got the mindset. You're putting the time in here. You're on this call. You're on this call. You have everything you need. It's really that simple. Folks, this is the secret Hill talks about. Your faith in yourself, the new blueprint, and the techniques that drive it into the subconscious, okay, is something anybody, and I mean anybody, can do, as long as what? They make a decision. And once they sense, that is prospects that you're talking to, once they sense possibilities that you're talking to, once they sense that you are going someplace, the place you're going doesn't matter. It's just that you've decided not to be a victim, not to continue saying, just tell me what to do, okay? But you are co-creating with your new self where you want to go. People are compelled to follow. And what's really cool is these principles work better when you realize you're not looking for a band of followers, but you're looking for a band of adventurers. Listen to this again. I am purely and simply in the act of recruiting myself with the proper mindset. Recruiting myself. There's your top earner. Right there. Right there. Once you have faith, this is easy, and once done, inviting prospects would consist of communicating a flavor of this promising state of mind. And this is really what starts to happen anytime you want it to. In week 13, you'll learn about the brain, that the brain is always transmitting. It's always transmitting. I've had some conversations with some people that were over here at the live event already, and they are just blown away, not by what happened here, but what's starting to happen to them. Things are just starting to fall in place. And not all of it looks like it's falling in place, but it always is. Because we're always transmitting. What are we transmitting? Our authentic self. What is that? Our authentic self are the decisions that we're making. The decisions, because we are our decisions, okay? So there it is. There it is, right there, okay? How can we expect possibilities or suspects to believe if we don't? Your fidelity to the exercises builds faith within you. This is a decision to continue to be a victim. It's a decision to continue to live by the old blueprint, but pretend that we're not, okay? That's pretending is not a decision. Action is a decision. This is a decision to not just do it, but to be it. You've got to be it, okay? And you got to see it to be it. And until you see it, you can't be it. And then the doing is nothing. But we've all been taught what? Backwards. You do it. Do what? Do what other people tell me to do. This is within you, and it sets up the last few chapters. And I promise you, they are life changers for people that begin to be this new blueprint. So dig in. Don't let the old blueprint call for procrastination because you're afraid of death. And it is scary letting the belief systems go that we have survived with. But the question becomes, do I want to survive in an existence that I'm not happy with anyway? Well, of course we don't. But we do what? If you're like me and like most people, the power frightens us, and we justify, like I justified to my son in teaching him Think and Grow Rich while I was perishing, my spirit was perishing in the seafood business. You say, you can be anything you want to be. Why are you selling seafood? Well, so that you can have the life that you want. Because if we do that, then our kids are going to grow up and do what? They're going to do the same thing. They're going to sacrifice the wonderful spirit that they have for the next generation. And it feels like a sacrifice, but actually it isn't. It's just a decision to follow people that really or societal mores and live a social reactive life rather than a creative self-directed life. So you've got to fight with all you have to do the work. You've got to fight these few weeks and not fight against, but fight for the adventure. So bear in mind that under stress, we all know what people are going to do, that we're going to tend to do what we like to do, right? What we're familiar doing. I've told the story about the kids that want to hear the same book every night because they're afraid of the dark, and when they wake up, they didn't die, so they want to hear the same story. That's the old blueprint. Okay, you can't say to me, you're doing the best I can. I can't allow that, because that's what losers, that's what quitters, that's what victims do. Do your best. If you're doing good, do better. If you're doing great, do better. Outdo yourself. Dig in, because you're crafting something phenomenal. If you're just getting started in writing this, contact Dave at go90grow.com. So decision actually has a Latin root, and it comes from decidere. And what that's actually what it means, or where the word decision comes from. And it means to cut yourself off from any other possibility. Doesn't mean you're going to try this out. It means you're just going to do it, and you cut yourself off from any other possibility. This is the metaphorical deaths that you just saw in that little video, that all these people and what Campbell and these myths of over 4,000 years all point to exactly the same thing. We've all had the experience of locking our keys in our car, and we try the door, we go over to the other side, try that door, then we prove we believe in miracles, we come back to the driver's door to try that one, and we can't get in. Nobody says, well, I guess that's it, I'll abandon the car. You know, and if you got to pick your kids up at school in an hour, man, you get real busy. You get on the phone, have somebody else pick them up, you break the window, you get a locksmith over there, a gas station, you do whatever you have to do. But there was a point that you made a decision instantaneously to get into that car, that you weren't going to abandon the car, right? That's a decision. The really cool thing is the subconscious is almost like this idiot savant. It doesn't know the difference in size. It doesn't know the difference between getting in the car that's locked, getting the keys out of the car that's locked, and living whatever your bliss is, whatever your dream is. It doesn't know the difference. It gets down to decision. And Hannibal wanted to attack Rome from the north because they were always fortified south of Rome, okay? Because that's how everybody came in by sea. Well, Hannibal had to go over the Pyrenees, and he had elephants and everything else out of Africa up over the Pyrenees through Spain and France. And they said, you can't do it, you know? And he said, we'll either find a way or make a way. And you got to find a way or make a way to let the old blueprint die and create this new one. And don't worry about it being perfect. That's why we talked for the first few weeks about the red pencil syndrome, right? Don't worry about getting it right. It'll get better. You'll get better at making a new blueprint. It doesn't matter. As long as it's linked to your heart's desire, you're good to go. You read the same thing about Edison's assistant, Barnes, who decided he was going to work with Edison, not just work for him. Have you cut yourself off from any other outcome? We can manifest dreams or we can make excuses, and it's all really linked, like I said, to your heart's desire, your definite major purpose, and faith. That's what it is. You know, the proof of decision is, are you sitting, reading, auto-suggesting, you're doing the things in the book, not mailing it in, not doing, but being and doing. Being and doing. You're being it, okay? Willingness to do or not do these exercises defines our authentic decision. Not what you're telling me, not what you're telling yourself, not what you're telling your husband or wife, but your authentic decision, okay? Henry Ford said we can't build a reputation on what we're going to do. We are what our record says. Bill Parcells was quoted at a press conference one day, and I know Marky Layton will get a kick out of this. We all get a kick out of Parcells. One of the writers said, well, you know, obviously you're halfway through the season and you're 4-4, but you're a much better team. And Parcells was just kind of a wise ass. And he said, no, our record says what we are. We are a 4-4 team. And the writer insisted, and Parcells' pretty strong personality, insisted over him. Parcells is right. They are their record, okay? It's not a question of whether you've made a decision. This is the really cool thing. This is the power that I'm trying to get to you to understand. It's not a question of whether you made a decision to be these things as well as just do them, okay, or paint by the numbers, but make it a masterpiece. It's what the decision is that you've made, okay? This is what I had to come to grips with. It gets down to trusting the personal pivotal needs, to your heart's desire, to opening up the mind. Opening up the mind to what? Well, here's the old blueprint, right? You have the best decision maker is your heart, your spirit, of course, we're referring to that call to adventure. I want my adventure. I want my dream to come true no matter what. And this starts to filter up, and there you see the old blueprint saying, I can't, I don't think so. What if I do this Think and Grow Rich stuff and it doesn't work for me? So we unconsciously half-assed do it, okay? How much will I make? What if it doesn't turn out right? What if the company doesn't stay in business? Whatever, okay? This is anatomically blocking your heart. So what you really want to do here, there's the solution. You got the key. You got it right in your hands in that little guy that I have every week holding that piece of puzzle. Well, that puzzle, of course, is the blueprint. That's what it is, and you're doing the exercises, and that's the deal. Because if you do, you have the solution, which is to, one, open your mind to this stuff, that you're powerful beyond measure, okay? open your mind, and follow your heart's desire to reach your dream. It's really that simple. It is Hill on the right, the world on the left. It is the golden Buddha on the right. It is the cement Buddha on the left. It is what you want on the right. It's what the world has told you you should have on the left. Really simple. Really simple. Easy choice. Easy choice. Okay? If you get it. If you don't get it and you're rationalizing, dig in deeper. Just dig in deeper. So let's link this, tie this up a little bit here. Oops, let me see if I can move this. Okay. All right, so you have an experience, right? And there's our buddy. There you are. You read because you're embarrassed reading out loud, like some people are, and then all of a sudden you get stronger, and then you start to link feelings to it, and there you are, the golden Buddha, your definite major purpose, PPNs, and how do you feel? That creates your beliefs, which of course trigger your actions, and that of course is going to lead to the result. So how does decision tie into this thing? Well, it's pretty easy, isn't it? Decision, we are our decisions. Action is the evidence of our authentic decision. Are we auditing Think and Grow Rich, or are we doing it and being it? And what do I mean by that? Are you all in? Are you all in with everything you have? Because Hill makes it really clear in the early chapters. The only reason this doesn't work is people aren't all in. You know, those aren't the words he uses, but that there's a lack of commitment in there. Okay, so does everyone know you've made a decision? Well, of course they do, because they're reflected by our actions, and that's what we're evaluated on. That's what we're embraced for, and of course by the small minds, that's what we're judged by. But we don't worry about the small minds, right? So thought, decision, and as those happen over and over again, that becomes a habit, and of course our actions are just an expression of the mental habits that we have. So since the subbing makes them all, a new blueprint creates a different context. When I have a new thought, that these exercises that I'm ranting about today are buried in your subconscious mind, so the decisions that are made are now coming from a different reference point, which develop different actions and different results. Okay, it's your Think and Grow Rich experience. Are you involved? Are you committed? And this morning I went up to the Kalaheo Cafe and had some bacon and eggs. And you know, I was thinking about it, and of course I realized that in a bacon and egg breakfast, the answer's everywhere when you're looking for it, right? In a bacon and egg breakfast, the chicken's involved, but the pig was committed, right? Okay, so anyway, you know, you want to bind this together, that the thought, decision, action, habit, and that's really what establishes your character. That's the character that you have. So anyway, how to evaluate decision-making ability. All right, our actions identify our decisions. Accurate analysis of over accurate. Now, these capitalizations here are not mine, they're Hill's. Accurate analysis of over 25,000 men and women who had experienced failure disclosed the fact that lack of decision was near the head of the list of the 30 major causes of failure. This is no mere statement of theory, it is a fact. Again, capitalized by Hill. Procrastination, the opposite of decision, is the common enemy which practically every person must conquer. You will have an opportunity to test your capacity to reach quick and definite decisions when you finish reading this book. Well, we're not waiting. I'm making you help yourself make decisions as we go along, and are ready to begin putting into action the principles which it describes. And of course, I'm going to throw a tad of Zen at you. You know, this is something that I've thought about for a long, long time, that actually procrastination is a decision, the decision to procrastinate. And of course, many of us that are glib or wordsmiths, you know, network marketers in particular, boy, can we rationalize our procrastination and make it sound like we didn't have a choice. And there we are, back to the film again. We're a victim. Okay, so organized planning, a franchising consultant. This is a guy that consulted with people that wanted to become franchisors, or they wanted to expand franchise base, right? Not an individual franchisee, but like a Ray Kroc type. Anyway, it turns out he got paid between $100,000 and $400,000 to consult with people initially, but as it also turns out, that fee went up to $1 million. And in being interviewed, he said, "Well, look, at a good idea is worth about $1. The plan for implementing the idea is worth millions of dollars. That's why I charge what I charge." And he was worth it. I'm not going to get into the bully pulpit here about 101 and oats, but it's really important. There's one key question and then 7 questions that you have to answer. Now, the 7 questions are really the 7 questions that this franchising consultant got paid for. He went in and he worked through these 7 questions. Give me my money. Have a nice day. Go build a successful franchise. Okay? And it's important that anyone will understand the one question first, and then the 7 questions from the franchise consultant. Okay? They understand what to do, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, what your objective is, and how to do it, right? If they found it, if they read it, they could do it without you. That's what's key. So here we go. I'm going to lay out this way to get into action around building your plan of action. You simply decide to leverage it or not. That's what? A decision. Okay, so what's your objective? And of course, we worked on that for the first 4 weeks or so. But do people know, without question, what your PPNs are, what your DMP is, what your SMART goals are? Exactly. In other words, do you have a clear visualization? Are you like going on vacation, or are you going on vacation to Palermo, Italy, and you already have the apartment that you're going to rent or the little villa that you're going to rent picked out on VRBO? When are you going? Why? What are your feelings? What passion is that going to ignite inside you when it's attained? Okay? How can they know, people that you're talking to? How can they know if you don't? How can they know? If they don't know, they don't know where you're going. And it didn't matter that Davine and I were coming to Kauai. That didn't matter. They just knew we were going someplace and we weren't going to be denied. And they wanted a little bit of that juice. They want a little bit of that juice. So people can't tell. People can't tell where you're going if you haven't made it clear to yourself. And if you haven't made it clear to yourself and it's murky, well, you're not going to get any clear decisions out of them. And without clear decisions, there can't be a clear commitment. And without a clear commitment, these things just don't get built. It's really that simple. So here we go. Here's the 7 questions from the consultant. Number 1, what's your plan? What's your plan? You got a DMP. What's your plan? Okay. Are you following the 80-10-10 that it talks about in oats? Okay. 80% of your time on the main thing, right? 10% on admit and 10% building from event to event. Okay. So if that's not your plan, what's your plan? That's outlined for you there. Your job is just to specifically transpose it into, your appointment book every week. If you're not following that, what are you doing? When people look at my stuff, they know exactly what I'm doing, which leads us to 2. How do they know? Because it's written down. Folks, the difference between knowing what to do and doing it is whether or not you schedule it, and no question about it. If it's not written, it isn't true. All fine and dandy with the little reminders on your cell phone, your smartphone, or whatever. But folks, if you don't have a handwritten plan, forget about it. Okay? It's just not going to happen. There's something about writing it out. You have to type it out because you want us to take a look at it, or somebody else in the class, that's fine. But write it out by hand, because it says, is it written down? It doesn't say, is it texted out? It says, is it written down? Okay? And that's what this consultant had him do, is write it out on a legal pad. Okay? Is it clear? Is it clear? What does that mean? Would I know exactly what you were doing? See, someone who finds your DMP and then turns the paper over, or turns the index card over and reads your plan should be able to do what? Go out and manifest your DMP. Is it clear? So if I found it, would I know what to do? Okay, to manifest it. Obviously, we want it to be able to be communicated so we can share it with our team. We can share it with other people. In other words, can anybody understand it that you speak it to? It's really pretty simple. Hey, baby, Would you grab my wallet for me? Oh, never mind, I got it. All right, so for example, on the True Health thing was mine, on my plan of action, it says, this is just a part of it, it says, I make healthy choices 24/7, eat a minimum of 70% raw. I drink over 140 ounces of water every day, minimum. I work out with P90X every single day. It's pretty clear, right? Who wouldn't understand that? They didn't know what P90X is, that's fine, but you get the general idea. Is it workable? And boom, we're back to oats. We tell you in oats, one of the things that makes your plan workable, look at 91% of the people, about a little over 91% of the people in network marketing work this business part-time to start. It's just the way it is. And I did, and most people I know did. But when we inside oats, you have to make sure that it's workable, and that means that it's working in your life. And this network marketing occupation can really easily upset the delicate balance of a house that's stressed over time and money to begin with, which is generally why people join. That's why we tell you to schedule time with, the the force or universal mind, God, whatever. I was having a conversation with a couple of guys over here, Carrie and Chip, and we were talking about how I talk about it generic, sort of in several different terms, and it's not meant to offend anybody or anything like that. And it's not done to be generic so that nobody's offended. It's done because, I made a decision a long time ago that any word that I can use for that power out there is going to limit it. And my goal is the same as the fabulous Dave Eames. We want to that is the transcendent, this transcendent energy force in the universe. And so our goal is always has always been, or for several years has been, to become transparent to the transcendent. So we talked to you about scheduling and whatever that is to you, God or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It just matters that it matters to you, and that's a good thing. If you need a specific title or something, that's great. But basically, that I just wanted to throw that little aside in there. But fundamentally, we tell you to schedule that time first with the transcendent, whatever that is to you, and then with your wife or hubby and the kids, okay, and then your business. That will keep it workable. That will keep it workable. Is it workable? Okay. You need harmony in the crib, that's for sure. Now the two big questions that he asked were 6 and 7. How can you implement it? Okay. What's it going to take? You got life's challenges and you have challenges in this business. Everyone has had the challenges. Whatever challenges, your top two challenges you think you are, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people that got involved in network marketing had your challenges. So it might be, I could take Don Nichols, okay, and Don's got, let's say, two challenges, and Ernest has two challenges. Now, they might not be the same, but I guarantee you that thousands have had Ernests and thousands have had Dons. Most of them failed. Some succeeded. The difference right here, what you guys are learning, a burning desire that was converted to an organized plan that shattered the old blueprint of being a victim or being that cement Buddha, okay? Whatever it is. To me, they're one and the same. You've got the knowledge, and you now know something that probably 1 in 100 people know. Knowledge doesn't apply itself. It just doesn't apply itself. So that's the first of the big two. How can you implement it? How can you implement it? And the big one, of course, and this gets back to the dash, right? The little vertical line we threw the dash, where are you currently in your life? And I like to think of that line of, if you got 10 years left or 12 years left or 30 years left, if you reduce it down to seasons, it really changes your perspective on it. How many summers do you have left? So when will you begin? Binding organized planning to the decision and the entire experience is simple. You've got to decide to do oats. decide to write out your plan, and decide to take this 1+7 test yourself. That's what you have to do. You know, because what that'll do is it's a declaration, it's a decision. If you just remember, if you don't do it, say I'll do it later, that is a decision to procrastinate. We all know it won't get done later. What you have to do is recognize when you are faced with these decisions. And this one, these 7 questions about your business, which is converting this idea into a decision and then into a written plan and binding all that together, that is a decision. And quite frankly, it's a life-defining decision. And either you're going to define it or it's going to define you. How does it define me? Well, if I procrastinate, I don't need to do that. I know what I have to do. Okay? Because when you have this written out and you have people in your group that have potential and all that, then you can pull this out and show it to them. You know, we've told people that we've worked with very closely over the years, the value in having oats is bigger than you can think. Why? Well, first of all, to take the home-based business tax advantage, one of the two things you have to do is, 1, have intent to make a profit, and then 2, provide proof of intent to make a profit. There it is in oats. The second thing is, as you pile these up and your business grows, you can go back and you can show a brand new distributor that's a little resistant to writing out a plan and so forth. Hey, this is what I did. Hey, look, here's the proof. I mean, I can't tell you how many people's minds I wrecked by pulling out my appointment book and showing them, you know, week after. I had daily ones, but I also kept a weekly one, the Big Franklin Planner. And the reason I did that, I say, here I am, you know, here you see that I have the seafood business blocked out, you know, 12, 13 hours, and I say, hey, I built this with 2 kids. Here's what I did. And you can show it to people, and boy, does it make it real then. So anyway, so the next few weeks, next week we'll begin sharing written plans of action. Next week is really what you want to pay attention to, because about halfway or so through the call, we'll morph into an authentic mastermind, which we've talked about since the beginning, gearing towards. But where we'll be next week is where you want to start with your group. That's where you want to start, where it's a real mastermind. So we're going to get 2 or 3 of you at a time on an open line. You'll communicate a movie trailer version. Actually, we want about a 4 or 5 sentence, even smaller movie trailer version of your DMP, so you'll convert that to someone. I want to read out the big, long one that you have, or the medium-sized one, or even the movie trailer version, just a few sentences, okay? What you want, how it'll make you feel when it's going to happen. So you can just have the highlights in there, sort of like a mini blurb on your movie, okay? Then you're gonna share your written plan. Then the people that you share it with, they're going to critique it, and then you'll switch roles. So you'll no longer be working solo here. Now, we're not going to be able to get to everybody, but that's what that community is for. It's more important that you recognize how it works. You know, if you're in there listing successes, we told you that if you'll get in there and list successes, and we see some people in there consistently complimenting other people and listing, well, it's going to be really easy to find a buddy in there to get on the phone with and read each other's back and forth if we don't get to you live on the call. You know, I have hundreds of people on the call, so you know, we obviously can't sit here for 6 or 7 hours, but that's the point, that you experience a little mini mastermind with a total stranger and help each other, because after you hear 4 or 5 of these, and we'll do 3 or 4 or 5 of them a week for the next few weeks, so you get the understanding. But the bottom line is, we don't want anybody leaving this course without a faultless, as Hill says, plan of action. So the last few weeks I've said, you now know, you know how, but knowledge doesn't apply itself, to turn this stimulus response, there's our cement Buddha and the person that's decided to be a victim, into stimulus choice response. So you have to, but you have to prove it so others will follow you. So isn't it astonishing how far you've come? Let's show you how you get to, rather than have a reactive life, here's the formula. You know, we've been adjusting it a little bit. You may have noticed it a couple of times to bring you to this point. But this is actually that success formula. It's a definite major purpose backed by a burning desire. You get the positive mental attitude, and we're seeing some really cool surprises people are having for themselves by, on the 7-day diet. We knocked it from 14 down to 7. Okay. And you have a written plan that's expressed in continuous action. You don't have to worry about being continuous action if you're building a burning desire plus a mastermind alliance. This is the Hill Hennell Stone formula. This is it right here. This is it. It's the whole thing right here. Okay. The DMP is big because imagination, we talked about last week, is everything. You've got a seed in your mind, not for the 15 minutes. That was the point of the flower exercise last week of concentration, and it was the point of the battleship where you're taking your whole. The battleship obviously is metaphorical of your what? Of your definite major purpose. And the seed is metaphorical of what? Your definite major purpose. It's just you started from the end and came back to square one when you first had the idea. And of course, with the seed is the seed of the idea that's now grown into this definite major purpose. So the seed grows into a flower. This is the point of having that conversation with your friend. So you're not just seeing it for 15 minutes. This is really important. We simply cannot take successful action without organization, which is why the concentration exercises run exactly parallel and through this week. Okay, they're trying to get your thoughts organized, whether you think deductively, inductively, we got you covered. The main thing is that you sat down and had that conversation with a friend to get it more and more crystallized. That's really the one that links feeling to it. So let's bind this together. DMP, a plan of action, a decision. A DMP without a plan is indecision, which, it's a fairy tale. Okay. And quite honestly, the longer you stay in network marketing and don't have a plan, okay, that's written out, the more your self-esteem erodes. It's just the way it is. Okay. The decision is to follow through, not just follow up. And the myth that you hear in network marketing all the time is there's a fortune in the follow-up. That is not true. The fortune is in the follow-through. No written plan, there's no chance of follow-through. See, the showing up for Think and Grow Rich, right, is follow up. Doing the exercises is following through, right? Writing out your plan is follow up. The action that you take to implement it, that's the follow through. Okay, so you need them both. So we're getting great reports about sponsoring, personal growth, and their businesses are growing. So why do I get on this drill all the time? Well, it's because you got to keep feeding the mind, or right. And it was really cool. I think it was either Derek. I think it was Derek that had posted on. Who posted something about that on Facebook. That you got to stay with it. Otherwise, you're gonna default to planning nightshade in there, which is the old blueprint stuff. So what happens is, when we adhere to the exercises and we're being this and we're using the skills, our business grows, and we're not used to that. Okay, and it's really easy to forget as you experience more success and the demands go up on your time because you haven't been through the coaching module yet. You don't know how to contain that and get the most out of it. We tend to cut back on some of this stuff. We say, yeah, okay, I did that, I got that mastered, I know that. It needs to be done daily. And we all forget, and I'm telling you, I'm confessing to you right now, that's exactly what happened to me. Business started to take off, was going great, and all of a sudden it started to stall a little bit, and so I bore down harder in the business. So I didn't realize that I was putting less time and enthusiasm into the exercises, and then as things started to slow down a little bit, I put more time into the business and even less time into the exercises without realizing, which is why we show you the boxes every week. The belief I had was there, but it was weak, and when fear started to come back, when fear started to leak in, even though it was a new fear, it's still fear. And under stress, what did I do? What everybody else does. I went back to what old habits, old mental habits, and tried to control things, and that's a disaster. So this is why organized planning and decision are linked. But here's what's really important. The sponsoring that's going on, the people that are growing personally and sponsoring, the personal growth that's going on, the businesses are growing. You have to remember, you did it. I didn't do it. Go 90 Grow didn't do it. You know, you did it. Okay. But you got to keep doing it. You got to keep priming the pump. You got to keep exercising the brain. Why? Well, you know something that very few people know. Mind is cause. And if the effects start to backslide a little bit, it's because we've started to neglect the thing that started to get us there in the first place. And I've said it a million times. If you don't love irony, you better get out of network marketing. You know, that which was turning my business around, I stopped doing that, you know, because I couldn't handle what was going on. And so, anyway, a word to the wise is sufficient, as my mother said. So with my best manners, please bear down. You're crafting a most remarkable gift for yourself, but it is cumulative. So bear down daily. What do I mean by bear down? I mean put your soul into this thing. Put your soul into it. Commit to it 100%. Hell, man, hell, gal, no one's looking. You might as well, okay? Answer the call. Yeah, I'm calling you all out today. It's a call to action. Call to adventure, okay? You're going to at first love what we've done. And then you're going to think of how amazing this staff is about this incredible, remarkable gift. But then you're going to realize something, okay? And I want to thank you all for trusting up to this point. You're going to realize that it was you all along that created this remarkable gift that was always inside you. So that's really generally what happens. There's some tears of gratitude and thank yous and all that. So I'm going to tell you right ahead, right now, this is the greatest gift that you'll ever get. But you're the one that is crafting it. We don't have anything to do with it. We don't have anything to do with it. And you need to feel great about it, because you can't get there. And we have people that get there next week and they go, OMG. I wish I had bore down harder. Now I understand why you were screaming at us every week. So anyway, and of course, you're going to go back and start again with these exercises and bear down. And a lot of people do, which is terrific. I mean, that's the nice thing about being a lifetime member. So the leadership game changer, I've always said that leadership in network marketing is the most overrated thing on the planet. It's absolutely ridiculous. The ideas about leadership and, you know, John Maxwell stuff is great in the corporate world and all that, but you know, leading isn't about being on stage. Leading isn't about being the mouthpiece up in front of the room. I mean, if that's your bag, that's great. You know, I've had that role, and other times I've worked with companies and I just leverage what's there if it's solid. But it's really about quiet self-discovery and improving, because this is really what speaks volumes. The best way, Wooden said, to improve the team is to improve yourself. Now, here's how you're going to do it, okay? And again, this is a huge gift that you've given yourself. It is a huge gift that you've just given yourself. It's massive. And the one that's coming next week is gonna dwarf it. But what you want to do is get the 11 traits of leadership on page 18, and you want to rate them 1 to 11. Make a decision, okay? Do it or don't do it. There, as Yoda said, do or do not do. There is no try. So this is the page I'm talking about, and what you're going to do is rate them 1 to 11. So what does that mean? Well, the one that you need the most improvement in, let's say you think that you really need to improve in courage, or you need your personality's a little you're a little cranky, moody sometimes. Hold on a second. Okay, so what you want to do is rate these 1 to 11. Now, it's really probably pretty easy for you to find one that you really know you need to improve on. It's probably easy to find 1 or 2 that you feel pretty confident that you're pretty good at it, okay? But don't spend any time on the ones in between. Just do it in like 2 minutes, okay? It doesn't matter. It just matters that the 1 or 2 that you need the most improvement in, you have 1 and 2, and the things that you feel the most confident on. I mean, I've had people like a week later, because I didn't give them these suggestions, say, well, I got 4 is 8, and I got 5 is 9, and I got 6 is 3, but I wanted to discuss it with you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It just matters that you do the thing 1 to 11. Because, you know, if you looked at it today, you look at it 3 days from now for the first time, they'd probably be the middle of it would be in a different order. So don't get all hung up in that. Okay. The key here is, of course, the law of growth. That's what we're talking about. So if you've been practicing the law of growth, like the people that are doing the right things right, in other words, they're in there exercising the law of growth in the community all the time. They're complimenting, they're picking other people up, they're reading other people's success. They're doing what? They're growing the success in their mind by identifying success in their mind. So what you want to do is create just a hand-drawn spreadsheet and put the number 1 thing, the thing that you had number 1 next to, the one you need the most improvement in, put that under, put that in the first box. So you want to have 8 boxes going off Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or as the Godfather said, no, what was the girl in Sicily in the Godfather, right? Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday. Okay, so just have those days there and have a little bigger box for the word, because you can take all those traits and reduce them to 1 word. What word do you want to reduce them to? Well, you want to reduce them to the upside. Okay, so courage, decision. Just take a great virtue and drop it in there. So today, after you do that, look, let's say courage was the word. Look for places that courage is happening right in front of your very eyes. Might be a cat is up on the back of the couch and he's sort of like hesitating a little bit, but he jumps up, boom, courage. You know, your son comes to you and asks you if he can stay up till 8:30 when bedtime is 7:30. You know, maybe you get aggravated with him, that's your deal, but you know, but notice that he had courage to come to you. Okay, right? So see courage, because you start to see it everywhere and everyone and everything, and you will begin to educe or draw it out of yourself, right? Isn't that important? Remember the diamond mines of South Africa, that story where the one father did not know what he had, but the other one did. You know what courage means, you know what decision means, you know what detail means. And a lot of people struggle with organizational skills or details. Well, don't worry about struggling with organizational skills. Just start to notice details or organization, whatever word you write down there. Just start to notice it. How do you notice it? Go to Starbucks in the morning and just stand back and watch these people coming down the line. They're ordering stuff off the menu. They're giving it to another person. They take the money. I mean, it's just amazing. Detail or attention to detail and organization is everywhere. It doesn't have to be like this big thing. Or courage. You turn on the 6 o'clock news. You know, there was a fire on 27th and Broad Street today, and they show the fire trucks over there. Man, those guys got courage. Ooh, there's courage. Just check it off. Just check it off, and you'll notice if you're doing it that as the week goes on, there'll be more and more check marks every day, and the more check marks there are, the more you're drawing out of yourself, because if it wasn't in you, you couldn't see it. This is what leadership is about. This is what leadership is about. I mean, I've been backstage, folks, because we've been asked to speak at a lot of places. And man, I'm telling you, I see people, you know, upset because their time was cut from 25 to 20 minutes. Like that makes them less of a leader. I mean, it's just, that's not leadership. And I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just saying this right here is leadership, to lead your higher self out. And how do you do it? It's effortless. Just start looking for these things everywhere and everyone and everything. So read sections 22 and 23. Do the workbook on 22 and take the little 5. It's only 5. This one's only a 5-point evaluation. As with all evaluations, get with somebody. It just helps you see what kind of a decision maker you are, and get with someone and make sure that you take their answers if they're different than yours. Okay. View the 8th video, chapter 8, and continue with the drill. You're crafting this gift. You really want to get it in a nice wrapping paper. It's a killer gift. It's a killer gift, because you'll never struggle with anything again if you got it right, if you've been doing the drill all along. So read the BPB and the guy in the gallon of glass daily out loud. We know that without oats, we are choosing to fail, which is perfectly okay as long as we recognize it's a choice we're making, okay? So every week, write out your entire specific plan. That's sort of the foundation of it. Rate the leadership qualities on 18. Rate them 1 to 11, with 1 being the one that you need the most improvement in. Doesn't mean you're bad. It just means you're going to go from good to better. We'll never rest until our good is better and our better is best. And use the law of growth. This is like so blows me away that people get to this point in this class, which is why I'm on the bully pulpit today, and they don't do this. Oh my goodness. This is a chance for you to actually see week by week by week over the next 11 weeks. And I want to talk about that for a second, but over the next 11 weeks, to literally touch the law of growth and realize that anything you decide to put on that paper and identify all week long will develop as a quality or a trait in you that's admirable to you by you, because that's all that really matters. But one of the things that we're going to start, you'll start noticing that we implement, as for example, we end on the 29th of June. And there's a couple of more weeks of reading and videos and assignments for you that we don't do with you. And this is another one of those things that this really, the people that have made a decision to succeed and know that they need to improve and they can do it effortlessly with the law of growth, this obviously section of Go 90 Grow is not going to go on for 11 weeks, right? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're about 7 weeks left. So what we do is we overlap a lot of the reading and a little of the reading, a little of the exercise. We do a lot of it in the class, but we overlap it so that when the class ends, a lot of times I was at classes and ran classes before, and a lot of times when they end, there's like this massive drop-off. But it's to help you start to understand that a lot of the things that we're asking you to do you're not going to really be done with when the live classes end. They'll linger into the mid-July or the end of July, and the reason is so that you start to understand that this was to help you get self-directed, not dependent on us, okay? And be the observer, okay? You know, you need to check off and share this 2 to 3 times a week or more. I mean, this can start to be your successes, which is very cool too, okay? And of course, single eye, always look the single eye, okay? Connect the vision to your specific plan. Okay, so there it is. I'm highlighting it. Folks, don't come this far and, have courage or attention to detail and not get in that community and talk about it every day. What happens if you do? It grows. It grows. Okay? Don't decide to default to being a victim or to fundamental, just tell me what to do. Okay? This is what creates see, 2 guys focused on the, let's say, detail, right? Attention to detail. Their experiences are going to be completely different, and they're going to record them differently in there, and they're both going to grow where? In the area that they need to grow in. Oh, don't miss this. Don't miss this. It's a freaking miracle. You can actually participate in a miracle, and it'll scare the living whatever out of you, because you'll start to say, oh my gosh, this isn't a theory. The law of growth works. I'm seeing it more and more, and I'm feeling it in me. It's because it was always there. Okay, so we're going to open this up for Q&A. If you have any questions about that, how'd you do with the mental diet? I know you did awesome. And of course, the 7 laws of the mind, which will lead to that great gift that'll link you to your heart's desire. So we'll see what we got going on here. All right. Okay. Yeah, Karen, we were going to talk about Finding Joe. We suggested that you saw that, but basically, the full movie's been taken off there. I don't know why. I don't know why the full thing was up there. Derek and Jen let me know that, again, masterminding, right? Because we talked about that a lot here at the live event. But that's actually, you can get that from iTunes or something like that, or just rent it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, James, it is. It's sort of, James says, I thought that verification for the Mastermind Alliance group, I've been on all the, yeah, it is. We're just bumping it up to another level. So it's a more authentic mastermind. So you'll know what to do with your team. I went to do a landscape lighting job, and the mindset of giving more quality and quantity. And when I was done with the job, the people were so impressed with my presence, they paid me more. Then they called me on the phone and asked me if they could pay me more and recommended me. Wow, this is fun. So let me see if I can find Scott. This is what happens, folks. I'm going to tell you right now, Scott's thrown himself into this thing. Let's see if he's still here. Is he still here? Scott Peace. What a great name, Scott Peace. Hey, Scott, how you doing? You there, man? Ah, what a great story. So he gave more quality and quantity, and when he was done, they paid him more. And then they called him, asked him if they could pay him more, and recommended him. Folks, that should be happening in your network marketing business. Yeah, Casey writes, the discipline is the discipline. Yeah, Michelle shares with us, you can get Finding Joe on iTunes. It costs $14.99. Another really great thing if you want to go in at a completely different angle, it actually is what drove Dave and I together. It was sort of a flashpoint in our relationship. I mean, we weren't a couple, or there wasn't anything going on then. Her sister thought I was, what'd she say, honey? Good looking? Attractive, but Davine was like, what? Really? So, him? Anyway, but anyway, she wanted to impress me. She was in my downline at the time, and she was all excited because she had heard the Bill Moyer, Joseph Campbell interview, which is The Power of Myth. That's remarkable, and you can pick that up for about 10, 20 bucks on eBay. That's a DVD series. Bill Moyer's a great interviewer. I can't stand most of these interviewers today. It's like a 7-minute question and a 30-second answer. The interviewers got to hear themselves talk. Bill Moyer is not like that. Great, great interviewer. And he actually did it with Campbell over here in Hawaii over the last couple of years. So, very cool. Thanks, Michelle, for sharing that. John Kennedy shares he got it at Amazon for 15 bucks. Yeah, that's, we can't do that right now, Scott. Can't get you on the phone. I can get you on the phone, but then they can't hear. Mark Layton. Yeah, this is really cool. I think this is important. Mr. Layton, how are you? Marky, you there? Okay. I can hear you. Okay. Well, he writes, I felt a complete mental shift this week from thinking about things as I do them to just flowing effortlessly. And that's the whole deal. Are you dealing with Kurt, honey? Okay. Let me see if I can get Larry on here. This is the great stuff that's starting to happen. Make sure your mics are working next week. Hi, Larry. How are you?
Hello, Mark.
Hey, would you mind? This is kind of personal, but what you have in here. So I was wondering if you would share it. I think it's a beautiful thing.
Oh,
about
sure,
your son.
yeah. I meet with my son once a week for breakfast, and we try to share things in Mastermind and whatnot. And I shared with him the Bridge Builder. I read it to him, and then I read a list of qualities of the person that I intend to become. And when I got done, he said, "Dad, I think you're already all of those things."
No,
And
no.
I was sort of blown away by it, you know?
Yeah, I can hear you welling up right now. Yeah. And how did that feel for you?
Oh, it felt as though the work is worth the effort. You know, it made a sense of that I'm farther along in becoming who I want to become than I give myself credit for, and that I'm able to pass this along to some men that I have a lot of respect for, i.e. my 3 sons.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And of course, you know, folks, this sort of dispels the thing about Hill. You know, we've had a couple of discussions or ongoing threads inside the community about, you know, some people say, it just feels like it's about the money, Think and Grow Rich. But it isn't. It's about the riches of life. And boy, what gets richer than that, Larry? You know, congratulations, man. You deserve that. I know it's clear how hard you're working in there, always encouraging other people. And I love the story that you shared there, man. Thank you. You're doing a great job.
Great.
Okay. Thanks, Scott, for understanding. Yeah, we can do it by phone. Okay. Okay, so anybody else have anything to share here today? You guys let me off the hook early. We're done early. Wow. Aren't you glad these are shorter? More time for you? Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay. So next week we'll be looking at some plans of action, and I hope this is powerful for you this week. If nobody else has anything, Anna Ray, our buddy from England, I realize that I am a drama queen. Let's see if we can get our drama queen on here. Okay. What a sense of humor. This girl spirit picks me up. Hello, Queenie.
Oh, hi, darling. How are you?
Good. So tell me about this. This
Okay.
is awesome.
Well,
The realization.
it is. It's you know, there've been all kinds of problems, pressures, tensions. It's been pretty awful, Mark. I mean, you know, really bad. But you know, I've just realised that I wasn't content just to have a few little problems to sweep away all of. I really wanted them to be, you know, to build up. So I've let all these supposed problems build up to a really impressive amount of pressure and tension before I make my grand gesture. And I've just blasted them all at once, mate. I tell you, all at once. I've blasted them, and it took 5 minutes.
Right.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. I mean, one of the things that we do in Emmett Fox's book that he wrote called the 10 Commandments, where he breaks them down. He says one of the very, you know, sort of ignored commandments today is thou shalt have no graven images before me, because we think of it as being a, you know, some type of animal that's gold or whatever, you know, that we don't do that anymore. But Fox goes on to explain that we have these graven images that we create are these problems that we create, and then we make them dramatic. But if we really look at them closely, for the most part, they're the same type of problems. In other words, Harriet always has a problem with relationship. Freddie always has a problem with his weight. Jack always has a problem with his boss, right? And that these become our identity, so we don't have to answer the call to action. And the reason that I know that is I had problems with relationships, money, and weight. I did all 3 of them as big as I could, so that I didn't have to get on with the business of living, you know. But they were all familiar devils. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I'm, you know, now I'm through it, I can laugh. But I have to say, as it was building up, they feel very real. They stop you doing anything. They can reduce you to tears, and you're not even sure what you're crying about anymore because it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it feels extremely real as it's building up. And I knew I wasn't going to stop the course. I knew that I knew all that, but I just stopped doing anything for a good 10 days, and it just all built up. And of course, you know, actually, it just took one right thought to really put everything in its right place.
Right. Right. Well, in my case, you know, I can identify with what you're saying. In my case, what I was doing was creating these little heroic things. You know, how am I going to get the rent paid with this problem? Of course, I didn't tell anybody that I was goofing off Monday and Tuesday. I was just out of the house 12 hours, you know, glad handing with people. And what I did, and this was a way, this was me trying to be heroic in my life. So I'd create these little crises and dramas and then overcome them, you know,
Yeah.
and what a good little boy am I. The truth is, what I was doing was avoiding really testing myself. Um, and I totally understand what you're saying. And I just think that, you know, for me, it was a choice to procrastinate the real adventure. And, you know, and then finally a couple of things happened where the universe slapped me upside the head and I couldn't avoid the call anymore. And, you know, some of us hear the call earlier, but it doesn't really matter how you get it as long as you get it. And so we really appreciate your honesty. You're awesome. We hope you come over here next time.
I'm definitely coming over. And you know, you've just really summed it up so perfectly and beautifully, and actually said something that I wouldn't admit to myself, which is the little heroic actions, which don't really mean anything. They're just a big red herring, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. I had a whole can of red herring. All right, peace. So talk to you soon. Okay. Oh, that's a great question. Scott asks, how do you put a mastermind alliance together? Well, next week, we got in week 10, we're going to start doing that. Show you how to do it. You'll write out a mastermind statement and everything, and it's very, very different than what network marketers, you know, they say it's a mastermind call or these big mastermind events, which are really pitch fests. A mastermind alliance is two or more people working in harmony for a definite major purpose. And when you put it together for your group, it's going to be your definite major purpose that's put in play. And there's some caveats in there that Carnegie passed on to Hill, and then Hill recorded over and over and over again. No one makes it without a mastermind alliance. It just doesn't happen. There's an old saying that it's lonely at the top. It's total poppycock. Nobody gets to the top alone. You need a mastermind alliance, and you need to know how to overcompensate these people for the job that they're doing. And you're going to love the fact that you're in network marketing, because you're going to, you know once you read it in the book and we go over to the class, you can't make it without a mastermind alliance. It simply cannot be done. And it is a key component to the greatest habit that you can have, okay, in regard to business or any ventures in life where you want to institute change. It won't happen without it. The problem with setting up masterminds for most people is the compulsion to complete the work that you want people to complete to manifest what you want to manifest. There's no way to compensate them. But in network marketing, there is. And that is just makes putting a mastermind alliance together here so much easier than it would at Fred's Butcher Shop or Alice's Beauty Shop, or, you know, Harry's vacuum cleaner, you know, peddling crew. It's just, there's a piece of network marketing that makes the toughest thing for most people that know that formula to put into play the easiest thing for network marketers. But you got to pay the price between now and then. That's the key, of course. Oh, Marky Layton says, stop it was wonderful. Yeah, with the mental diet. Yeah, this is great by Casey. He shares with us the deception of life is to distract you from change, which of course was in that little video at the beginning, where when metaphorically death is the death of an idea that's outlived its usefulness, so you're ready to grow. And I think what's interesting all through Finding Joe, where that kid gets stabbed 15 or 20 times and eventually slays the dragon, which of course is our fear, is that it's the death of us being children. You know, I mean, many of us are in our 40s and 50s, and we don't realize we're still children. We're still living by these subconscious blueprints that were planted by teachers and parents and all that. And let's give them all the benefit of the doubt and say they were doing it for the best of reasons. They did so much for us, except they didn't teach us how to think because we were a tribe of 20 or 30 students in a classroom. And so they geared us towards mediocrity, towards the majority. You got to behave, you got to behave, you got to behave. You can be anything you want to be as long as you follow the rules. We're taught, you know, there's no encouragement around thinking, educing. The word education actually comes from the Latin educe, educo, but that's, but it's not really what it is. Our educational system is not really educo. The English translation of educo is to draw out, draw out. And certainly in the schools, they're not drawing out the best in the kids. They're training them, which is great, but they're not necessarily drawing out the gifts of that child. And some of it has to do with just the sheer numbers that they're there. I'm not throwing the school system under the bus, but it's actually modeled after the Prussian school system, and it is really a head fake. It is to get the majority to behave the way that the ruling class in Prussia wanted them to behave. So we call it blueprint washing, which is kind of brainwashing in a way, right? But anyway, you're free of that now. Yeah, Ferdinand, that's on the table. Just give me a call Monday. Yesterday, I heard a therapist say we are the architects of our own misery. Yeah. If that's true, then the opposite must be true. We are the architects of our own happiness. Absolutely, Larry. It's it's the mechanism. Here's the thing about the law of growth, folks. You got to get this. Thank you, Larry. You got to get this. You have to get this. The mechanism is perfect. It's just a question of whether we're planting corn or nightshade. That's it. And if we default, I can guarantee you it's not corn that's going to multiply and divide. Okay? That's the deal. That's the deal. And that's what we talked about at the beginning. You're the architect of the bridge. You know, could somebody start construction on it? Where's it going? When's it going to be completed? You know, absolutely. Thanks, Larry. Well, see, this is huge, Anna. Yeah, just be grateful for it. Just be grateful for it. Yeah, you're right, James. You know, Anna's talking about being grateful for what she's going through. The big piece of gratitude is your awareness, because inside what you were sharing was you're beginning to be an observer of yourself. And that changes everything. We're not victims. If we're observers, we can clearly see that the decisions that we're making are based on our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, or thoughts and feelings that caused our beliefs. As we become an observer, this material gets more valuable, not less valuable. This isn't something that you've done. This is something that, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how powerful this was. And it keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper the more of an observer you become. And James says, you know, 100% participation. Anything less costs you, it gives you 0%. Absolutely. Let me see if, yes, Sandra says, I am thinking our Mastermind Alliance will be with other Think and Grow Rich members. Or are you suggesting that we find people in our business? You want to develop it with people in your business, but your initial one or two may be with people in here. We're going to kind of do it as a big group so you can get a snapshot. When we're doing plans of action next week, and we'll be calling on you, and we tell people ahead of time, and that's usually when the participation or people that call in, it usually drops about 30%. Which is a decision. I'm not going to write out my plan, and I'm not going to get on the call. I'm not going to get exposed. And there's always a couple that say, I didn't write it out. I wanted to hear a few. I should have written. Take ownership. Vulnerability is a huge piece of helping people. But anyway, eventually, Sandra, you're going to want to form a mastermind. And you've already actually started to form one with yourself if you're reading The Gallon of Glass every night. That's a huge one. So, but yeah, eventually you'll form it with people on your team. That would be what you want to do so that they advance you to the pin level you want. We'll show you how to do that. Tom, let's see if Tom's still on the call. This is terrific. This is just terrific. Hi, Tom. How are you? You there, Tom?
Yes.
Hey. So you said we design our lives. Tell me what that means to you and how you feel about it.
Well, at the end of the day, what I've come to realize over the years is that when you're willing to take full accountability of who you are and the decisions you've made up to this point, you then begin to realize that no matter what anybody else tells you or whatever else you're going through, you have the ability within yourself to overcome those things. So therefore, in essence, you have the ability to design the life you truly feel like you deserve to have. Because many people before me have done it. So in my mind, I can do it as well. It's just a matter of learning how to do it. And then, like you said before, just following through and getting it done. That's just the way I look at it.
You should have taught the class today.
Well, thanks for the encouragement.
You said in 70 seconds what took me 45 minutes. Fantastic. Thanks, Tom. You're so right. Folks, this is what's starting to happen. People like Tom are starting to think. And what I'm hearing there, what's so beautiful is personal responsibility. We are responsible for how it turned out, which is right there, the first thing we did when we introduced the 7 laws, right, all at once, was the law of forgiveness. Who cares if Daddy didn't show up at enough games or showed up at too many, or, my dad died when I was 3, I didn't have a dad, or, Mommy drank too much, or well, who cares? Who cares? Ouch, whatever. But what am I going to do from this point on? What am I going to do from this point on? I'm not saying that stuff isn't painful or whatever, but all of that is part of the mosaic that makes you, all of that is part of the mosaic, okay? So design a different one. Embrace all that stuff. It's awesome. Yeah, we love you too, Anna. Okay. All right, everybody, and let me see if I can get Wendy on here. Hi, Wendy. How are you?
Wendy's talking about you. Wendy.
Okay. Guess she stepped out. Wendy's like a third time through on this, and it's just amazing to see some of the posts. She's in with a company that we built out, Go 90 Grow. The entire company has Go 90 Grow and Think and Grow Rich. But she's just done a beautiful job. I was reading some of her posts in there today, and working out and helping people enrolling people, and it's just. I remember when she first started how this was like, it was a completely different experience. Came from a successful corporate background, I believe. But anyway, we'll get her on next week. So everybody have a great week. You got a great gift coming. Don't just do it. Be it. Throw yourself in 100%. Don't be a slacker. Okay. Anyway, because it's your gift. There was some Christmas story I read sometime about this guy that was building something or whatever. I can't remember, a kid. And he did a lousy job with it. And, and that ended up being his gift. Okay, so it's your gift that you're giving to yourself, and you're gonna love it. You'll never struggle again if you do it right. And if you don't do it right, because of Go90 Grow lifetime membership, you get to do it again. So don't worry about it. But why not do it right the first time? All right. Peace be the journey. Honey, I'm hopping off.